Italian Football Podcast.
And that leads us nicely into Simone Inzaghi as well, because this is, again, the game against Spezia is not where it went wrong at all. Because
let me pose the question. Let me pose the question outright then, because a lot of Inter fans are talking about this right now. Should Inter consider replacing Inzaghi at the end of the season?
I think you need to have the conversation, but the question becomes: okay, get rid of Inzaghi. He's got a contract until 2025. You have a financial difficulty. Who are you going to replace him with? So you're going to pay him until 2025. You're already in a situation with wages and finances because of Suning. So who are you going to bring in? Who can you bring in? Who can you afford to bring in that can do it better? And if you say Thiago Motta, I'm leaving the room, because that's ridiculous.
Deserbi.
Oh, yeah, well, of course, as a Juventino, you want that, because he'll get Inter will finish 10th and leak 90 goals. God. So no, it's as simple as that. But at the same point, I really look around and I'm thinking, no, he should not be at risk. What he really needs to become more assertive. Look, I have no doubt tactically about how he reads games, how he prepares for them. His in-game management can improve, of course, but I have no doubts about the tactical side of things. What I have a doubt, big question marks, is how he controls the group, how assertive he is with the group. And I'll give you an example. After that game against Spezia, he's asked about penalty takers. Exact same situation 3 years before with Antonio Conte in his first season. There's penalties being missed. Lautaro misses. Alexis misses. Lukaku's on the pitch. When that happens, he comes out and says, we're going to have a conversation about this and we're going to decide the hierarchy. That's what Conte says. Inzaghi comes out and says, goes on a long tirade about how we have two world-class penalty takers. We haven't decided who's going to take it. This was the first time that they were both on the pitch. Blah, 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 blah. No. Romelu Lukaku has 13 out of 13. Lautaro Martinez has 4 out of 7. There is no discussion here. What are you doing? Stop talking nonsense. Go out there, say we're going to have this conversation privately, and then we'll come back to it. But be assertive. He's not assertive. Yes. He thinks he doesn't understand that he's a coach. I understand that you have different kinds of leadership where you have leadership that is you're one of the guys, you're one of the teammates. I get that. But he seems to literally think that he's one of the players in the squad in terms of how he leads this group. And it's not going to work. It isn't working. And he's throwing away points and he's throwing away his career this way. Because everyone is watching this. You can play as beautiful football as possible, as much as you want, but if you don't know how to control a group, then it's going to go like this. And it's frustrating. It's incredibly frustrating.
No, I agree 100% on him not being assertive enough. That was the point I was making before about the penalty takers. You make it clear this is your hierarchy. You can't have players deciding on the pitch. That needs to be absolutely clear cut before you go onto the pitch. Who is the penalty taker? There should be shouldn't even be a discussion. So definitely. But
there's also another thing I wanted to discuss as well. Look, the problem this is Inter. Why you can't figure Inter out is because we have a weak management, a weak ownership. We have no structure. How many players are on expiring contracts at Inter and are leaving in the summer? How many of those players that have contracts that even go past this summer are even certain of staying? You can't run a football club like this. It's not. Yeah. It's not.
Well, that's what happens when the ownership is in limbo. That's what happens. It breeds uncertainty.
It's all it does,
and that can seep onto the pitch as well.
Of course it is, and it has, and it is doing. From Handanovic to D'Ambrosio to Gagliardini to Lukaku to Dzeko to. I mean, come on. And then, and the players that have long-term contracts, well, they know, as Bergomi said yesterday on Club Calcio, on Sky Club Calcio, he said, you win the Serie A, and instead of building on that, what you do instead is go into this discussion about how to cut. What are we talking about? We're not. This is a waste of time and talent and money, and it all comes down to Suning, all of it. Every single thing. That's the root heart. Look, as long as these guys are there, as long as Suning are there, Inter are going to sink into mediocrity slowly but surely. It's like watching a collapse in slow motion. And Thiago Motta, Ivan Juric, look, I don't know how many coaches Inter are going to burn out the way Chelsea eats coaches, the way Zamparini used to eat coaches, because that's the situation we're in. This isn't just a leadership issue from the coach. This is a lack of coherent project and clarity throughout.
It's bizarre. It is bizarre when I look at the results. I mean, again, the record against the smaller clubs versus the record against the bigger teams. I mean, beating Napoli, Barca, and drawing to Barca away, and Milan beating them twice, Atalanta twice, beating Porto just the other week, and then losing to Spezia. It's just insane. Bologna, Empoli, drawing with Sampdoria, drawing with Monza. It's inexplicable.
The thing that pisses everyone off, and I agree with, is that if they'd only delivered normal results against Monza, Sampdoria, Bologna, Empoli, they'd be 2 points behind Napoli.
Yeah.
Which is, again, this feeling...
I do think they've been a little bit unlucky. I'm looking at the X points table, and their expected points is 5 behind Napoli, just over 5.2 behind Napoli. Obviously, there's other ways of looking at that. The fact that Napoli have got 2 world-class attackers in Kvara and Osimhen means that they're going to
clinical killers.
And world-class players. Full stop. They're going to turn. Their expected points is going to be higher because they've got world-class attackers. I mean, so there is that. But I do think Inter have been a little bit unlucky. I mean, this game, 27 shots they had in the game, 13 corners to 1, 69% possession, 3.97 xG. Spezia had a non-penalty xG of 0.24. I mean, it's just. I think
but this was
one of those games in isolation. This is just one of those games.
Yeah,
sometimes
but it's a combination of everything at once, not just one ingredient. This shitty stew has many ingredients, and one of them is players that aren't good enough, namely like Denzel Dumfries. He has no football brain or IQ whatsoever. It's dead. He is brain dead football.
He nearly rescued a point.
He had. Oh, really? Nearly, did he? Oh, nearly. He also gave it away 2 minutes later by the most asinine challenge that I think I've ever seen someone do at that point. It's like the man has no body control. He has no control over his body parts. It's not the first time he's done something stupid as well. Remember against Barcelona earlier in the season? He almost threw that game away as well with his stupid challenge with the hand.
Got lucky with that one, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, this guy, look, you sell Hakimi and you bring Denzel Dumfries. Nothing is a better example of what is wrong with Suning's running of this club than that. You sold Hakimi, you replaced with Denzel Dumfries. You get what you reap what you sow.